Welcome to this week's edition of Outdoors Online, a weekly webcast produced by the North Dakota Game and Fish Department. I'm your host, Tom Jensen. My guest this week is Jeff Hendrickson. Jeff is the fishing supervisor in the Southwest District. Jeff's been an early spring, so obviously you're getting some fishing activity in your district lakes already.
Yeah, the people have been out fishing, getting after them in a lot of places actually already this spring, and it's actually been pretty good.
Yeah. You don't really have any big lakes in your district. You have some very nice medium-sized lakes that are offering some good fishing opportunities.
Yeah, we got Heartbeat Reservoir. Grant County is pretty good walleye fishery, northern fishery in the spring. A lot of pan fishing stuff there too.
Oh, sure, some of your smaller lakes actually really are producing too.
Yeah. Patterson Lake's got good walleyes in it right now. Really nice fishery.
Okay. You have the luxury of having a large variety of species in your district, Jeff. I'd like to go through each one of them. I want to start with walleyes.
Yeah, walleyes, a good choice for walleye fishing would be Patterson Lake, Heartbeat, Lake Chida, Bowman Haley, Indian Creek. Big walleye in Indian Creek.
Some nice fish.
Yeah, not a lot of them, but they're big. Yeah.
Seems like every district now, Jeff, has some great northern fisheries, and I'm sure you do too.
Yeah, the same place. Northern fishing was really good on Patterson Lake this winter. Of course, Chida's good for northerns. A couple of small lakes like Gascoigne and Larson Lake in Hendrickson County has been really good for northerns lately.
Okay, one species that makes your district unique, Jeff, is you have some trout lakes to manage.
Yeah, we have a lot of trout lakes in southwest North Dakota. We have more trout lakes than anybody else. Camel's Hump, Sheep Creek, Mott Watershed actually has big trout in it every year.
What kind of trout now are we talking about?
Usually rainbow trout. There's a few lakes that we put, like Lemon Lake and Sheep Creek, we put brown trout in, and Camel's Hump sometimes, but it's mostly rainbow trout.
Right. You've got some good panfish fishing also in your district.
Oh yeah, bluegill fishing's probably never been as good as it is right now in the Southwest. You name the lake with bluegills in it and they're all big. We got North Lemon, Sheep Creek, Patterson Lake, Odland Dam, Indian Creek, Camel's Hump, Davis. They all have really good bluegills in them right now.
I want you to give me an example, Jeff, now of a couple good sleeper lakes, someplace that people might be able to go that not too many people know about.
Yeah, one is kind of obvious, Mott Watershed Dam. Last summer was really good bluegill fishing there, and we're talking nice, 8 to 10 inch bluegills, and lots of bass in there. You'll catch a lot of small bass, but it's a nice little sleeper lake. And of course, a lot of people know about Davis Dam, but that's my favorite little sleeper lake.
Not only is that a good fishery, it's picturesque there too.
Yeah, it's out in the Badlands, so it's it's a nice place to go.
Yeah. Take a day off, Jeff, and we've done this with all the supervisors so far. Go fishing somewhere in your district. Where would you go, and what species would you fish for?
Well, I probably wouldn't venture out too far. I'd probably just come right out here to Patterson Lake, and it's been pretty good walleye fishing actually this spring. I think that'd be a good bet.
All right, Jeff, thanks.
You're welcome.
We continue our fishing reports now. We head to Devil's Lake. Randy Hiltner is the district supervisor for the Northeast District, which of course includes Devil's Lake. Randy, your water levels are dropping a little bit up here. Is that going to affect your fishery much?
Yeah, we're currently at about 1450, which is 4 feet lower than in 2011, but it's still relatively a high lake level. What we might see is the water pulling away from the shoreline, and so it'd be less flooded vegetation in the spring and may affect perch and pike reproduction.
Right. Is it going to go down much more?
It's hard to say what it's going to do, as far as we aren't getting any runoff to speak of, so odds are that it will go down.
Right. Is that going to affect lake access at all? Not only Devil's Lake, but some of the other regional lakes?
Well, yeah, it will. Like Pelican Bay up on Devil's Lake, that ramp we don't expect to be functional this summer because it was only about a foot or so deep last fall. And some other ramps we may have to move, like down at Minnewacan, we moved to the intermediate dump ground ramp, we call it, because of the lower water levels.
You had a I guess, fairly successful season of ice fishing this past winter. Is that going to carry over into spring and summer?
Yeah, it was a squirrely ice fishing season with the ice. I mean, it came so late and people weren't very comfortable driving out there for much of the winter. But we did have a pretty good bite on the 3-year-old perch, which were like 8 to 9 inch fish, and decent walleye fishing. And I guess I would expect that to continue on Devil's Lake. And Stump Lake is also doing really well. Lots of nice walleyes, some over 20 inches. And a pretty good perch population coming up over there.
Randy, the main forage on Devil's Lake for many years was freshwater shrimp or scuds. How are they doing in the lake, and are they still the main forage?
Well, it really does depend. They are a consistent forage for all game fish in the lake. But if we have strong hatch white bass, those young year white bass then provide a good forage. So it's variable, but I would say the scuds are down some, but bounced back maybe from several years ago.
Fish population still doing well in the lake?
Yeah, we're seeing the body condition actually improve on the walleye population as their densities are down somewhat from like several years ago, so we're getting better growth rates from the walleye.
You've got a very wide variety of fish in your entire district, Randy. Let's talk about them one at a time. Start with walleyes and some of your better walleye lakes.
Yeah, we've got some newer, like 1,000-acre, 800-acre walleye lakes. Lake Coe is a nice walleye fishery. Herdsfield Lake, Goose Lake. These are all pretty good district lake walleye fisheries.
All right, how about northerns?
Northerns, yeah, I got a comment on the big lake. First, the chain of lakes north of Devil's Lake and Devil's Lake itself is just a northern factory. But if you want to go to a smaller water body, you can go up in Rowlett County to Carpenter Lake, Island Lake. Nelson County has Lake Loretta. So lots of pike fishing opportunities still, even though our water levels are dropping back some.
All right, let's talk about perch, crappies, panfish of any species.
Well, if I was looking for bluegills in the Northeast District, I'd go to Lake Upsilon or down to Red Willow Lake. That's some of our two better lakes. Crappies, maybe Homie Dam and Bisbee Dam actually produce some really big crappies this winter.
Okay, how about perch?
Perch, again, the big water, if you're looking for jumbo perch, Devil's Lake and Stump Lake would be your best bets. But just most district lakes and reservoirs in the Northeast have perch in them. So you can take a kid fishing and maybe catch lots of smaller perch.
All right. Some of the lakes that you've mentioned are smaller, which is kind of proof positive that you've got some really successful up-and-coming fisheries in your district.
Yeah, and some have peaked and others are stable, but like I said, we're still at a relatively high water level, and we didn't sustain any serious winter kill up here this winter, so there'll be lots of smaller lakes and reservoirs for people to go fish at.
I asked Jeff, and I'll ask you too, take a day off work, go fishing in your district. Where would you go and what would you do?
Well, this time of year, I just get anxious to catch northern pike off ashore, and they seem to be the most willing biters in this cold water temp. So I just go up in the upper bays of Devil's Lake, around Church's Ferry or somewhere, and catch northern pikes till I got tired of it.
Thanks. If you plan to fish any of the lakes mentioned in Outdoors Online, or actually nearly every lake in North Dakota for that matter, the new March-April edition of North Dakota Outdoors magazine is an invaluable tool. The special fishing edition has information on almost every fishable lake in the state, including fish species contained in a body of water, directions on how to get to the lake from the nearest town, and whether or not the lake has boating access. You can also find that information at the Game & Fish website at gf.nd.gov. Plus, there are topographical maps of most lakes available at the website too. For Jeff and Randy and the rest of the staff here at North Dakota Game & Fish, thanks for joining us for Outdoors Online. We'll see you again next week.